And now...
What is this?
I know you're gonna dig this.
This is the Flatland Sports Podcast.
Where do you come from? Lubbock, Texas?
Lubbock, Texas.
A place called Lubbock.
I wonder if they think I'm so gorgeous back in Lubbock.
What do you care about Lubbock? You're big time now.
I'm just a little homesick, that's all.
Is that what you want, Larry, to spend the night in Lubbock, Texas at a day's inn with a $15 voucher from Cinnabon?
Lubbock? No, it's near Lubbock.
What's it like there?
It's flat, real flat. You stand on a coffee can, you can see Colorado.
Happy Tuesday from across the Great Plains of West Texas. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast, free and available worldwide on YouTube and Spotify. Lots to go over as hell has actually frozen over ESPN's. You know that ESPN, the ESPN that tried to kill the Big 12, the ESPN that's been ruining college sports for forever. ESPN's College Gameday is returning to the Hub City for a top 10 matchup between the number 8 BYU Cougars and the number 9 Texas Tech Red Raiders. Apparently, bullying works, as this will be the second consecutive Big 12 stop for College Gameday after ESPN spent the better part of the last 4 years trying to cram the SEC down everybody's throats. It's clear that ESPN is starting to feel the pressure from ratings drops and the stigma related to their attempts to ostracize the entire college football enjoying community. And it's clear that there's a shift in perception as the Big 12 seems to be garnering more and more respect from a national level, as evident by the fact that Cincinnati stayed in the top 25 despite getting blown out by Utah, and Utah jumped up 7 spots after beating Cincinnati. The media, the national media specifically, gave Cincinnati some slack for losing to a strong Utah team and rewarded Utah for soundly beating a strong Cincinnati team. In the past, the loser, and by the past I mean 3 weeks ago, really, the loser falls completely out of the rankings after a loss, and that's assuming they were even ranked in the first place. Because for a long time, the national media was either pushing or they were buying the narrative that the Big 12 was a mid-major without Texas and Oklahoma. Never mind the fact that Oklahoma was struggling without Lincoln Riley. Never mind the fact that Texas only won one Big 12 championship in 12 years. The perception is starting to shift the same way it did for basketball. Now, I'm not saying it's already there yet. It's not there yet, but you can feel it shifting just a little bit. Prior to 2019, the Big 12 was seen as a second-tier basketball conference to the Big 10 and the Big East. Then the Big 12 goes and makes 3 consecutive national championship games and wins 2 of them. Texas Tech made a national championship game, nearly won after a miracle shot by Virginia in the last 30 seconds of the game. Baylor won in 2021. Kansas won in 2022. In just 3 seasons, you change from being seen as a second-tier conference to the best basketball conference in the country. And now you have potential to do the same in football, especially after the Big 12 was left for dead and written off. It started with TCU beating the Big 10 champion Michigan to make the national championship game in 2022. Now the national media tried to point to the blowout loss to Georgia in the national championship game as an indicator that Big 12 teams just aren't the same caliber as Power 2. It's just a different caliber of player. You know, these kids aren't up to the same as what they are in the SEC. But anyone who was paying attention could see that was just utter nonsense. Last season, ESPN relentlessly pushed the narrative that 9-3 SEC teams were more deserving of a college football playoff bid than any 11-1 Big 12 team, only to see Tennessee and Georgia get blown out in the first round by teams that they were supposedly supreme to. And Texas loses, or nearly loses, in a double overtime to Arizona State, a Big 12 team. Texas had to have a miracle 4th down and 16 play to win. Over the offseason, we saw Texas Tech and BYU put together so-called SEC caliber rosters, not just through the portal, but you're also seeing Texas Tech now regularly beating teams like Notre Dame, Georgia, Texas for 5-star recruits. Texas Tech just picked up the number 1 rated overall quarterback in the 2027 class just this last weekend. BYU's picking up 5-star talent as well, and it's talent that normally would just get sucked up by the SEC and Big Ten is going all throughout the Big 12. The idea that football programs outside the Power 2 not being able to compete due to the financial disparity is proving to be false every minute, regardless of TV contracts, and that's because what is true in college sports 50 years ago is still true today. Whoever has the most fan support, whoever has the most booster support, will always get the best players. Especially now as we exit the age of mega TV deals in favor of more individualized streaming deals. And of course, the biggest hurdle is yet to be overcome. The Big 12 needs to win playoff games and needs to win national championships. Now, lots to go over today. We will discuss the game against Kansas State, grade the position groups, preview the BYU Cougars. We'll also have the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll take a look at this week's slate of Big 12 football and basketball games. But first, Red Raiders in action. We'll start with Texas Tech soccer had their Big 12 tournament run cut short after a heartbreaker to Baylor that came in the form of 9 rounds of penalty kicks. Just an absolute brutal way to go. Texas Tech initially jumped ahead in the first few rounds of the penalty kicks, but ultimately Baylor goalkeeper Ashley Zirkle was able to drive one past Faith Wynn to secure the match. Red Raiders now await their fate as they await their seed for the NCAA tournament during the selection show on Sunday, November 10th. Lady Raider basketball opened their season last night with a 78-40 win against North Carolina A&T. Jalen Bristow had a great night, 19 points, 9 rebounds. Bailey Maupin had 7 assists for the win. Texas Tech will play UTSA from the United Supermarkets Arena this coming Thursday. That's a 6 p.m. tip-off on ESPN+. And, of course, Texas Tech men's basketball starts tonight at Lindenwood versus Lindenwood. That's a 7 p.m. tip-off on ESPN+. Texas Tech, a 31.5-point favorite, enters the season ranked number 10. Not just Final Four aspirations, but national championship aspirations for Grant McCaslin and his squad. And, of course, Texas Tech football picked up a win in Manhattan, Kansas, with a 43-20 win over the Kansas State Wildcats. Defense just dominated again, as they have each and every week this season. Jacob Rodriguez is making his case for Heisman, and if he's not getting traction by now, there is something seriously wrong with the system. Jacob Rodriguez forcing 2 fumbles and just was all over the field. David Bailey and Romello Height, also the best pass rush duo in college football as we speak right now. The unit as a whole forced 5 turnovers. Jacob Rodriguez responsible individually for 2 of those. Offense had a great game as well, as Baron Morton looked a little rusty, but once he got going, he looked solid. Running backs played lights out, and it just makes me sad that Quentin Joyner couldn't be a part of this offense, because what they would do with him is it would be just absolutely incredible. We'll have to wait and see next season. With the 43-20 win, Texas Tech breaks an 8-game losing streak against the Wildcats, going back to 2015 when Patrick Mahomes was in his sophomore season. It was also your first win in Manhattan since the 2008 season. That's not talked about enough, but what's talked about even less is, and this is because you have higher hopes than just having a better regular season record, but you secured a second consecutive regular win season, a second consecutive 8-win regular season for the first time since 2008-2009. And as we sit today, you've got 3 games left on the schedule. Next week, of course, the BYU Cougars, ranked number 10 in the country, College Gameday coming to Lubbock. That's going to be a really tough game to win, but a very winnable game for the Red Raiders. And that's the thing, every game on the schedule from here on out, I don't care if it's BYU, I don't care if it's UCF, and I don't care if it's Alabama, Georgia, and Notre Dame. Every game is a very winnable game for a team like Texas Tech right now. This team is just that good. But going back to the regular season, you've got obviously a really tough BYU team coming up, but then you've got UCF at home and West Virginia on the road. Now, nothing's guaranteed. We don't know what's going to happen, and I'm not trying to jinx anything, but you've all but secured your first, you're on the fast track for your first 10-win season going back to 2008, and the 4th 10-win season in program history, 5th 10-win season in program history. Still lots of football to be played, and when we come back, we will award position group grades. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast. It's time now to do what we do every week, and that's award position group grades. We'll start with the quarterbacks. Baron, you get an A-. Baron Morton was 21 for 32, 249 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He did have one kind of fluky interception at the beginning of the game. That's why it's an A- instead of an A+. Obviously, a little rusty coming back from being off for 2 weeks, but all in all, this was by far his best game all season. Running backs, you get an A+, and I'll add 3 more pluses, A+++. Jacoby Williams, 17 carries, 135 yards, 1 touchdown. That came on a 41-yard scamper. Cam Dickey, 21 carries, 68 yards, 1 touchdown. And my favorite stat, Baron Morton, only 4 carries for negative 14 yards. So really it was just 1 carry for 6 yards, and the rest were just a couple sacks or a couple losses that happened. Baron Morton, you don't need to run. You've got 2 great backs. Just do what you do and stay healthy. The best part of the night was when Baron Morton slid. Someone finally showed him how to slide and not get himself smashed. Running receivers, Caleb, you get an A. Caleb Douglas was your leading receiver, 8 receptions, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns. Terrence Carter Jr. was back for this game. That was a sight for sore eyes. 4 receptions, 81 yards. Reggie Virgil made some great catches too. 5 receptions, 72 yards. Coy Eakin, he's struggled a little bit. I think he's dealing with a little bit of an injury. 1 catch for 5 yards. He had a couple drops in this game. But all in all, a great effort by the unit. 21 total receptions for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns. A+ for the wide receivers. An offensive line, A-. Baron Morton got sacked twice. Texas Tech put up, however, 187 rushing yards. You can't ask for more than that. Just keeping Baron upright, but most of those came on blitzes. There's not a whole lot you can do from an offensive line standpoint. Baron Morton's just got to get the ball off quicker. Defense. Of course, I grade defense on a pass-fail scale. Defense passed with an A+. Forced a season-high 5 turnovers, 3 fumbles, 2 interceptions. Jacob Rodriguez, that's the whole tweet. Jacob Rodriguez, 5 tackles, all 5 of them solo, one of them a tackle for the loss. His ability to just punch a ball out of a running back's arms is something I've just never seen before. A lot of football is really just players being in the right place at the right time, and that's the whole point of coaching, is putting your players in the right places at the right time all the time. But, Jacob Rodriguez is doing things that we haven't seen since a guy named Dwayne Slay back in 2006. The difference, though, is Dwayne Slay, he forced fumbles like this. It was because he just was committing felonies on the field. By today's standards, certainly. Dwayne Slay would just destroy people and the ball would come flying, and that was it. Jacob Rodriguez, it's so much more meticulous, and I've never seen a guy who has the ability to just come up on someone, put their arm back, and punch a ball. I mean, and we're talking about milliseconds of decision-making here, and being able to put all that together multiple times a game is just incredible. Jacob Rodriguez for Heisman. Romello Height, David Bailey, too. Not enough is said about that pass rush duo. They are the best in the country. Cole Wisniewski, the leading tackler, by the way, 6 solo tackles, 2 tackles for a loss. John Curry had 6 tackles as well. He also had the scoop and score to put the Red Raiders up and really put the game away in the 4th quarter. Bryce Pollock had an interception, 2 interceptions, I believe. 5 tackles, all 5 of them solo. The number that's jumping off the page to me right now is the fact that your leading tacklers, every single tackle is a solo tackle. Cole Wisniewski, 6 tackles, 6 solo. John Curry, 6 tackles, 6 solo. Jacob Rodriguez, 5 tackles, 5 solo. Bryce Pollock, 5 tackles, 5 solo. Ben Roberts, 3 for 3. Brendan Jordan, 3 for 3. Romello Height, 2 for 2. Bryce Ramirez, 2 for 2. They don't need help anymore. This isn't a team where you, like what we saw from the Mike Leach era, the Cliff Kingsbury era, the Matt Wells era, where the only way you were getting tackles is one guy got there and slowed him down, and another guy brought him down, and you were sharing tackles. These guys are just making tackles. This is what elite level defense looks like on paper. We'll go on to special teams now. You get a B, and only because I think Joey McGuire would shoot me if I gave you an A for that missed extra point. We'll start with the kick returns. Micah Hudson had a really good return. One for 22 yards back, almost broke that through. Jacoby Williams, the same one for 21 yards return. Another one that almost punched its way through. Coy Eakin had 2 punt returns, really just called a fair catch on both of them. Stone Harrington, 3 for 3 on field goals, nailed a crucial 55-yarder as time expired in the first half. However, 4 for 5 extra points. That wasn't on him though. The placement of the ball was not clean, and it just wasn't put down in time as Stone Harrington was making the kick, and it just threw the whole thing out. And that is not on Stone Harrington. That is on, I believe it's Jack Burgess who is the holder. Jack Burgess, by the way, 4 punts, 2 out of the 4 inside the 20. His longest was 48 yards. Solid day as always by Jack Burgess, minus the flubbed point hold. But overall, just an absolute dominant performance by a Texas Tech football team that we've never really seen put together dominant performances like that in certainly not from a game-to-game standpoint, and certainly not from a season-to-season standpoint. We haven't seen this really since, if I'm picking a game like against a real opponent like Kansas State, a team that you haven't beat in 8 years, really you haven't beaten 10 years, you haven't beaten 8 tries. You like most things this year, you got to go back to that 2008 season. And this team is just, it's not a team that's punching up. It's not a team that's finding ways to win games like we've seen before. This is just a team that's better than everyone. And they're going to continue to be better than everyone. And hopefully we'll see them better than the BYU Cougars next week. And we will preview the BYU Cougars when we return. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast. Texas Tech returns home for one of, if not the biggest game in program history since the 2008 Texas game. College Gameday is coming to Lubbock. It'll be an 11 a.m. kickoff, which is just head-scratching to me. And it's head-scratching for the following reasons. It'll be on ABC. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit will be on the call. I mean, this is the ABC ESPN game of the week, and they put it at 11 a.m. for some reason. And the only thing I could think of is that contractually, they really must be obligated to put the SEC in the 2:30 and the 7 o'clock slots. But either way, the game that the country has its eyes on is Texas Tech BYU, the only top 10 matchup in the country. Texas Tech, a 10.5 point favorite, which seems like a lot. I'm not a bettor. I'm not a betting man. I would probably, well, you know what? I will take Texas Tech to cover the spread here. 10.5, but that's a tough one with BYU. But this is what Texas Tech has been doing to everyone all season. So why would this game be any different? What do we need to know about the BYU Cougars? BYU comes in undefeated, ranked number 8 in the country. They've had 2 losses over the last 2 seasons combined. Just came off of big wins over Iowa State and primarily Utah. The Utah being the biggest ranked win that BYU has on their resume. Iowa State, a better team, just not on paper. A team that I've been saying is underrated all season. BYU really flew under the radar. Did not make an appearance in the AP poll till much, much later. Finished last season 11-2, completely snubbed from college football playoff in the worst possible way. They weren't even in the conversation. 11-2, everyone was complaining about the 9-3 SEC teams, 9-3 Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss that got left out. Nobody said a word about the 2 lost BYU Cougars. Players to watch. Quarterback Bear Bachmeier, the freshman from Marietta, California, came in after quarterback Jake Retzlaff was suspended and later transferred for violating the university honor code. Bachmeier, primarily a pocket passer, however, he can be really dangerous on his feet. His play, to me, very similar to Avery Johnson out of Kansas State, in which he can run design runs really dangerously, but he's not the best improviser when the pocket collapses. He does, however, have just an absolute cannon of an arm, especially for a freshman. Another player to watch, running back L.J. Martin, the junior. We've seen him before, from El Paso, Texas. 789 yards, 132 carries. He's got 5 touchdowns on the season. He is incredibly fast in the open field. Not great at breaking tackles, though. Wide receiver Chase Roberts, another player that we've seen. Senior from Highland, Utah. 591 yards, 32 catches, 4 touchdowns, and just really, really good at making difficult catches. Diving to the ground, double coverage. Just a really good hands by this receiver. And on the other side of the ball, look out for linebacker Jack Kelly, the senior from Kern City, Utah. He has 28 solo tackles this season and 5 sacks. Move on now to the keys of the game. Key number 1, get pressure on Bear Bachmeier. Like I said, Bear Bachmeier, he's not a guy who can improvise very well. If you get him uncomfortable and make him move around, he's going to either make mistakes or he's going to have to throw the ball away. BYU has not faced an edge rush like Texas Tech. They have not seen anyone compared to David Bailey and Romello Height. Keep Bachmeier uncomfortable, force him to make throws before he's ready, and you'll be successful. Number 2, establish the run. You've got 2 great running backs. Use them. Jacoby Williams, Cam Dickey, just run it down their throats. Force BYU to sell out to stop Jacoby Williams and Cam Dickey and give Morton an opportunity to create one-on-one matchups with his receivers downfield. And number 3, relax. There's going to be a lot of excitement on this game, a lot of pressure. Texas Tech facing something that they haven't faced in a long time in terms of opportunity, and that's been the theme of the season. Pressure versus opportunity is just a mindset. And what we're all seeing is pressure. Joey McGuire sees it as opportunity and an opportunity to just do something great. Opportunity to do something that has never been done at Texas Tech before. So just lock in and play your game. You are the better team. Texas Tech, BYU is a good team. Texas Tech is absolutely the better team between the two. BYU, as I said, is a great football team. Texas Tech is going to win this game the way that they've won games all season, and that is by playing suffocating defense and just wearing down the Cougars, especially into the second half. I'm picking Texas Tech to win 45-21. Good teams win. Great teams cover the spread. We'll have the good, the bad, and the ugly when we return. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast. It's time now to take a look back and see who's rising, who's falling, and who just wants it to end. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
We'll start with the good. Utah got a quality win over a ranked Cincinnati team, making a case really to be a college football playoff at-large team. Now, I don't know what Utah is going to do. I don't know what the College Football Playoff Committee is going to look at. If we're going off of history, Utah won't be considered at all, but they absolutely should be. Also good, West Virginia got a win over a ranked Houston team. First ranked win of the second Rich Rod era. I didn't think West Virginia was going to win another game this year. Went down in a road environment, not necessarily a tough road environment. We'll get to that in a second. But beat just a really good Houston team on their own field. Also, Arizona State, we thought they were done with Sam Leavitt being out for the season. Got a really good win over Iowa State last week as well. Moving on now to the bad, Colorado. Completely blown out by Arizona last week. They're just a bad team right now. I wondered what, and it's nobody's fault with Deion having a fight with cancer over the offseason, but there was just no preparation. There was too many distractions for this team to ever possibly be successful, and I don't blame anyone for it. It just is what it is. But Colorado, just their season is effectively over. We'll see where they land at the end of it. UCF, they're a team that's also trying to rebuild with a brand new coach who's been a coach before. They 30-3 loss against just the mid of all mid Baylor teams. Completely blew their chance to be eligible for bowl season this year. Or if they are, it's going to come from some incredible upsets that they're going to have to pull off, and I don't think they're going to. Move on to the ugly. One addition to the ugly column here. The Houston Cougars. What was that? Lost to West Virginia at home. You had a ranked team going into this game, but the worst part was the stadium nearly empty. You have a top 25 team. You're doing a blackout. You have a chance to be in the Big 12 championship conversation, to be in the college football playoff conversation. And what, it's the day after Halloween, I guess. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff. Just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic from the U of H fans. There are 3 million people in the Houston area at least. You can't find 30,000 of them to sit in the stands? Good Lord. We'll be back for one more. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast. Back for one more. It's time now to take a look around the Big 12 and preview the week. We'll start with the game on Friday, Houston versus UCF, a classic AAC rivalry. That game is on at 7 p.m. Fox Sports 1. UCF a 1.5 point favorite. Houston is just struggling right now. They're expecting 47.5 points total for the game. I think Houston will bounce back, especially on the road. I think UCF is really, really struggling right now. I'm going to pick Houston to get the upset, 21-16. Up next, Colorado at West Virginia. West Virginia coming off of a huge win last week against the Houston Cougars. This is the TNT game, which has just been an absolute delight this season. I can't wait for the day when TNT and Turner has the bulk of Big 12 programming. West Virginia, a 6.5 point favorite. And they've got the point total at 55.5. I think that's going to be kind of high for this game. I think West Virginia will get another win here today, or not today, but on Saturday. That game will be 16-10. It's just going to be a dogfight, and I don't know what we're going to be watching, but it's not going to be great. Either way, West Virginia comes out on top. Up next, Kansas at Arizona. That is a 2:30 kickoff on ESPN2. Arizona, a 4.5 point favorite. Kansas, as I said last week, has been exposed for being the overrated and completely mediocre team that they are. Now, they are on the road. They have the opportunity to maybe plant some knives and get some momentum going, but it's not going to be enough. I'm taking the Arizona Wildcats 32-24. And then the last game of the Big 12 slate this week, Iowa State at TCU. TCU, a 6.5 point favorite. That is a 2:30 kickoff on Fox. Iowa State, they're starting to stumble a little bit. TCU, they're coming off an off week. They're 6-2 for the season, 3-2 in Big 12 play. I can't tell if they've had a disappointing season or if they've kind of punched up a little bit. Iowa State, though, they seem like they're done. They may struggle actually to get to 6-6 this year. I am taking TCU to cover the spread. This is going to be a 28-20 game in Fort Worth at Armand G. Carter. Let's go ahead now too and take a look at some of the basketball scores and the games coming up. Houston started their season against Lehigh with a 75-57 win. Arizona, ranked number 13, got a huge win over the number 3 ranked Florida Gators, 93-87. BYU and Villanova last night. BYU won a thriller, 71-66. Iowa State won their game, 88-50 against Farley Dickinson. Kansas beat Green Bay, 94-51. Cincinnati, 94-63 against Western Carolina. Baylor, 96-81 against UT Rio Grande Valley. That's kind of a surprising score that Baylor was able to allow that many points against them. Now, here's the surprising score of the night, and thanks a lot, TCU. TCU against New Orleans, 74-78. The Horned Frogs lose at home. Hopefully they bounce back. I don't care if they bounce back. It's TCU. UCF beat Hofstra 82-78. Colorado 84-78 against Montana State. Utah, San Jose State 84-75. Utes on top of that one. More Big 12 action tonight as West Virginia will take on St. Mary's. West Virginia is a 19.5-point favorite. Starting off what I think is going to be a really, really good era for Mountaineer basketball. Texas Tech, of course, taking on Lindenwood. 34.5-point favorite for the Red Raiders. Kansas State takes on UNC Greensboro. There is no point spread. Oklahoma State taking on Oral Roberts. Oklahoma State, a 20.5-point favorite. And I really sincerely hope we see Oklahoma State as a program bounce back maybe this year. Arizona State opens their season against Southern Utah. Arizona State, a 16.5-point favorite going into this game. There will be games all throughout the week and into the weekend. Starting on Thursday, West Virginia will take on Campbell. Iowa State, ranked number 16, will take on Grambling. TCU, St. Francis. Really, the most intriguing games coming up are Friday, 6 p.m. on ESPN. Kansas, number 19, and number 25, North Carolina. Kansas will be on the road, a true road game in Chapel Hill. North Carolina, a 1.5-point favorite. We'll see what this Kansas team is made out of. And then on Saturday, you got UCF versus Vanderbilt. That game has no point spread. Vanderbilt's really not that great at basketball in the first place, so it's, we'll see what happens. Colorado versus Eastern Washington also, but the biggest game of the week by far is that Kansas versus North Carolina game. Top 25, number 19 Kansas, number 25 North Carolina. We'll see what Big 12 basketball is made out of this week. But that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch and to listen. Please help me out by following, liking the video, subscribing to the YouTube channel. It helps me out, helps the algorithm out. I will be back after the Texas Tech versus BYU game for the official live post-game show, live on X. For Flatland Sports, I am Christopher Johnson. Thank you so much for taking the time today, and Wreck 'em Tech.